So we go on to our next speaker, Dr. Keda Lal, who's the director at Delhi Eye Center, and she's now going to take you on to something more interesting. Case of a grade 4 DLK post-hyperopic glasses. So let's hear from her.
Very good evening to everyone. So I will be sharing a case that gave me nightmares for a very long time. This is the story of a 29-year-old female patient who presented to us with a hypermetropic refractive error in the right eye. She was also amblyopic with the best corrected visual acuity of 20/80. The left eye, the uncorrected visual acuity was 20/20. And if we look at the pentacam here, it's a fairly regular cornea with relatively flatter keratometries. And the corneal thickness, the minimum corneal thickness here is 547 microns. So we went ahead with eye LASIK in this patient. And we used the IFS 150. We can see here after docking, the flap creation has gone on pretty smoothly. There is no significant OBL. And subsequently, we lifted this flap. There were no intraoperative epithelial defects and not a few plant secretions, but nothing very significant. And as a routine, we deposited the flap back and did everything went ahead as planned, very uneventful surgery, waited for 2 minutes. And this is what the patient came back with on first day post-op. We can see this kind of grayish cellularity that is present in the interface, which is visualized a little bit better on the slit. And we did an anterior segment OCT. We can see the hyperreflectivity. And interestingly, we can also see a fluid cleft here. So differential of pressure-induced stromal keratopathy was kept in mind, but the intraocular pressure was within normal limits. Given the kind of cellularity that this patient had, a final diagnosis of a DLK stage 3 to 4 was made in this patient. And she was subsequently taken up for a flap lift. So where we have to keep in mind the differentials were PISK as well as infective keratitis, although it looked a lot like DLK. So here when I took up the patient the same day for lifting up the flap and irrigating, I decided that I should take corneal scraping as well, since I am being able to access this infiltrate. And we used a hockey stick to do that, being very gentle, not too aggressive, and not to aggressively rub the stroma as well. Then thoroughly irrigated and then reposited the flap after thorough irrigations. We can notice a few meibomian gland secretions at this point. We avoided vigorously rubbing again because that could cause a significant amount of inflammation. Then reposited the flap back and started her subsequently on prednisolone acetate eye drops 1 hourly along with moxifloxacin and tear substitutes. We also started oral steroids 60 milligram and gradually tapered. We also gave her doxycycline because I did not want this flap to subsequently melt, which is known in cases like this. In DLK, it can happen. This is after the next day after the flap lift. We can see the inflammation has significantly come down. The visual acuity has improved from hand movements to 20/100. On staining, we could notice this irregularity in the epithelium. The epithelium was loose at some of the areas. And this is at day 5. So the inflammation, though, has beginning to come down, but she has developed a little bit of stromal scarring, and which was also visualized by the hyperreflectivity on the anterior segment OCT. So the steroids were slowly and gradually tapered under close follow-up. This is at day 10. We can see the kind of striae and the scarring that this patient has developed. The visual acuity is now 20/200. And this is 1 month after the primary surgery. So here we are really thinking, is this developing into CTK? This is what the inflammation has led to a kind of anterior stromal scarring. And is this really central toxic keratopathy? And why is it different? It's important for us to differentiate that. We all know that DLK is inflammatory, whereas CTK is non-inflammatory or more of a toxic. But more importantly, we wanted to decide how frequently to taper down the steroids, because CTK, as we know, does not really respond well to steroids. It's already been a month, and DLK usually responds very early. And there is literature to suggest that there is overlap between stage 4 DLK and CTK, and might be a similar kind of etiology as well. So we did not stop the steroids, but we gradually did taper down both the topical as well as the oral prednisolone. Now, finally, at 3 months follow-up, here we can see that the scarring has significantly come down. There's this one temporal striae, which we can see here, which is persisting. There is a significant amount of irregular astigmatism as well as hyperopic shift, and we can see the kind of irregularity that is visible here on pentagram, corresponding to the significant area of scarring. And This is a little unusual as well because this is a hyperopic ablation. We do not expect this kind of inflammation to happen right in the center. And finally, at 5 months, we can see the scarring has significantly come down. The irregular astigmatism has also gone down. She has, with correction because of the hyperopic shift and flattening, she has achieved a best corrected visual acuity, which was there to begin with. And the pentacam also looks better. We can see that the flattening is gradually coming down. The hyperreflectivity is also a little lesser. So we have just kept her on follow-up as of now and explained to the patient that over a period of time, gradually the scarring will eventually go down and the hyperopic shift will come down. So I just wanted to share this rare case where there was an overlap between a stage 4 DLK and CTK. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's a wonderful process. I mean, it did look like a CTK, but it could have been very much a DLK, and hyperopic shift is so typical of CTK. That was a wonderful way of doing it, and I would have also started her on oral steroids and doxy, and I couldn't find a flaw anywhere, excepting that from the beginning, it somehow struck me that it must have been a CTK and not a DLK. But then how long would we actually wait with this kind of stormy episode that you would not want to think of DLK at all? Rishi, would you want to add something here?
No, I think she managed it perfectly, and I don't think anybody else could have done anything more.
Yeah. Now,
Unfortunately, these are very difficult
Yes.
cases, and we are literally at
Yeah.
sea.
yes.
So I would just like to add, ma'am, that because it presented straight on day
Yes.
one,
Yes.
CTK usually would present later, and the kind of granularity and the cellularity that I saw. So I thought, basically what I thought when I saw that fluid cleft on ASOCT was probably all this inflammatory cells are the reason why this fluid is accumulating, because the IOP was absolutely normal. So that was, my thought process at that point of time. That's why I took a-
case, or did you have similar cases happening?
No, ma'am, this is the only case, thankfully, and no other case.
Sometimes they happen as a cluster.
Yes,
So I
yes.
just,
That
wondered
can be
when-
scary. Then you have to go look at all your sterilization protocols if it happens as a cluster. But this was the only case that we encountered. I though went back and checked everything, checked my BSS, made sure that the staff was sterilizing everything properly, looked at all the labels, did the whole drill. But this was just a one-off case that responded like this. The patient did not have any history of keloid formation or anything abnormal. She did not have any systemic issues. So it was just something unpredictable.
No, very nice presentation, Dr. Ikeda. I mean, very well managed. Just to add quickly, I think on day one, grade 4 directly on day one, something which is rare. So I think that is the only thing which should also make us suspicious of an infectious etiology on day one. And I think you did the right thing by scraping and not automatically assuming that it has to be DLK, because grade 4 on day one is a little rare. The other thing to differentiate CTK and DLK is that DLK is usually a problem of only the interface, whereas CTK involves the posterior stroma as well, and generally, which was visible on your ASOCT as well. Yeah, and CTK can be preceded by a DLK, though generally not necessarily a grade 4 DLK, but a grade 1-2 DLK in the initial day or two, and then you have the central typical picture of central toxic keratopathy. But I would agree with you on this case that it was a DLK to begin with, which then led to an inflammatory reaction, a subtle bit of scarring, and there wasn't as much posterior stromal involvement in your case, which would typically be there in a CTK.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I think that's what the inflammatory response kind of led to the scarring, and then sort
Exactly.
of became like a CTK because the inflammation was so intense. And
Yes.
I agree, we don't see these kind of stage 4 DLKs, but we live and we learn.
Yeah, that was a wonderful discussion and summarizing of the whole thing, Shreyas. And Nikeda, that was damn good.
Thank you.